Hi guys, welcome to the Improvement Season podcast. Yes, it is me, Steve Hall. It's been a while, been a couple of weeks. I don't know when the last time it was that I took 2 weeks off from doing it. I don't think it all happened in a bit of a hurry. And I was like, I was actually with Jess and I was like, hey, it's Thursday tomorrow. And Pascal's going to have to do an improvement season without me. So we didn't discuss this because it all happened so quickly. I had so much on my plate. I just don't even think I thought about it. So thank you, Pascal, for sitting in. And thank you, Harry, also for coming in and doing that episode. I listened to most of it, actually.
Thank you for the audience, basically, for enduring me and Harry as well, then, as a replacement the last week. The people know what happened. So, maybe we want to actually delve a little bit more into it, the topic at hand, and that is, of course, Las Vegas. Even though that someone said in the comment section what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas, this time it's not the case. We are going to talk about Vegas the entire time, the entire journey, the entire experience. And Steve, where shall we start? Do you just want to talk us through it, like in a chronological order, and then we can touch on bits and pieces here and there?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's funny, I said to Charlotte when I left, I was like, remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I'm going to get my post-show libido back. It's still not there yet. But so if I take it in chronological order, so yeah, in terms of flying there, so I don't know if I talked about it much on the podcast, but I was really trying to gather my head around trying to get over jet lag as soon as possible. As everyone knows, like sleep and sleep is majorly affects your look and how you feel. So I wanted to get that in the best place possible. So I was already talking to Greg Potter about how do I align my circadian rhythm the best and get over jet lag as soon as possible. And he essentially gave me some instructions of how to essentially expedite recovery from jet lag twice as fast, so that come show day I was in a good position. And to be honest, I was super happy how I came into the show. So I think everything I did there worked quite well. So one was I started pushing back my bedtime and my wake time, because Vegas are like 8 hours or so behind us. So it's quite a big time difference, so that would start to align better. And then on the day of travel, I tried to place the majority of my calories within the same eating window. So when I would normally be eating in Vegas and when I'd be eating here. So that meant pushing food a bit back and then not eating as much later, because it was kind of a constrained window. And one of those things was a stressor in terms of what food can you take through security. And that actually fucked me over on the way home. I bought a really nice nut butter from like a Sprouts. It had like 5 different seeds in 10 different nuts or so. It was ridiculous. I was like, you can't get this in the UK. And I took it through my hand luggage and they're like, this is liquid. You can't take this through. We're going to have you either have to check in this bag now or we're removing this from you. And I was like, fuck, remove it. It's fine. I'm not worrying about this. But things like porridge, cooked oats can't get through security because they're liquid. Like they have a lot of liquid. When it's cooked, it's like now like a jelly form.
So it's like kind of like they see it as something like a yogurt, for example.
Yes, like yogurt. I don't think yogurt's allowed. Like jams, spreads, anything that's like spreadable, basically. That's like liquidy. It's like you could put something in that's disallowed. So that meant I was like, egg whites, cooked egg whites, are they okay? I was kind of like stressing at the last minute, so I like packed some like turkey meat, because I was like, oh, this is equivalent. So they were fine, but I ended up freezing a lot of my food thinking that it would defrost quickly, and it just didn't. So on the flight there, this is where I can say sacrifice to win. I ate frozen egg whites.
Steve, on that note, what if you have something liquid, you freeze it up, and you take it with you? Then it's not in a liquid form while you're going through the hand luggage or the security.
I have a feeling it would flag it up. Maybe it has like a measure of like quantity of water or something in the machine. I don't know. It's a weird one. Definitely a weird one. Because I had actually a freezer pack in my bag as well. And I don't know how many mils was in that freezer pack, but they didn't pick up a fuss about that. So yeah, who knows? But it got through security. So that was a good relief. But then I was like, holy shit, I'm going to eat this meal in like an hour and it's frozen solid. So I was like hurriedly trying to defrost meals. And then when we're on the plane, I had a meal of egg whites and white potato frozen. And so I was like, they gave us food, like, you know, the cooked food they give you. I was like putting that on top of my Tupperware, trying to defrost it, like shaking it around. I was sitting on it, trying to make it warm.
And you couldn't just ask them because they have like always a microwave?
They don't let you use it.
Right.
It's like a policy. Yeah. So, yeah.
I can see why. I mean, otherwise people would just like take their Tupperware with them all the time.
Take on like a ready meal. So, yeah, that's where I sacrificed to win. I was just like, I need to eat this meal. I don't want to risk eating something different. I'm just going to eat it. So I ate like crunchy frozen egg whites and like frozen white potato.
This is one of those things where you will look back in a couple of months and even years and think like, how fucked up I was during prep.
Yeah. So that was thinking back to it. It was really sad, but the positive was it made the Snacker Jacks that I ate after that meal taste amazing.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's how you always should do this. Like, first have something that is awful so that the other thing is actually glorious.
Yeah. So, yeah, that happened. And then landed, and basically we landed like in the evening, and it was then a case of when we land, need to source food. But we have no cooking facilities. And all my food was like egg whites, white potato, oats, protein powder. So I had protein powder and I had uncooked oats. But I was like, on the Vegas Strip, you can imagine, there's not the good supermarkets. Like they just have like mostly alcohol, like shitty food, like crisps and snacks and shit like this. And then like all this like medicine and shit like that, like to get you over the hangover. Yeah. So yeah, I picked up like some bagels, and then I was like, I couldn't cook anything. So I was trying to find, can I buy a microwave? And other people had microwaves. And I was just like, I just want to make this my own problem and like not worry about having to try and find a microwave and everything. So the next day we went to like Albertsons that Crystal thankfully found for us, because she used to shop there, Crystal, Mike's wife. And I picked up some bits and pieces there. And then I was like, looking back, it seems ridiculous, and I think I overthought this, but you know what I'm like. I like look at every single detail. So at this point, everyone knows in peak week, you're considering potassium and sodium balance. I didn't fucking realize how much potassium was really in white potato. There's a shit ton. Yeah. Like to get the equivalent from banana, which everyone thinks has a lot of potassium, you need like a ton of banana. Yeah. Like 100 grams of white potato isn't much. It's like a couple of small potatoes. That has more potassium than a whole banana. Like, so I was like eating these, I was like, oh, I can eat these bananas with this bagel and that can equate my sodium potassium ratio. And I was like, no, I can't do that because I have to eat like 5 bananas. So I couldn't do it. So I just ended up kind of reducing my sodium to equate the potassium ratio rather than trying to like source some. I was even looking into like potassium tablets and stuff that they did even have in some.
What ratio did you have? Was it like still kind of a 3 to 1, 5 to 1 ratio during peak week?
Fuck knows at this point. I can't remember.
Okay.
I was doing all the math and I was trying to equate it, and I did work it out. But I think the body's smart enough, as long as you don't go like completely remove potassium or remove sodium. I think if they're in a semblance, the body's smart enough. I think a normal
ratio is like 3 to 5 to 1. So 3/5 to 1. Somewhere in that range. It's kind of normal. I have the feeling that I'm way above with my sodium intake because right now I freaking love sodium and like salt and everything.
Yeah.
It just tastes amazing.
Yeah, most potassium just comes from, this is the consideration in peak week. Like I think most vegetables, I think it was something like a normal serving of veggies has maybe 200 to 300 milligrams of potassium. And people remove vegetables because they're fiber, and then they suddenly remove potentially all their potassium. So I like in peak week, and something I was doing is like, if I remove this amount of veg, I need to increase this amount of white potato, which wasn't a lot of white potato because it's so dense in potassium. So that was quite a nice like realization. I've learned a lot about these things. But you think neurotic bodybuilders tracking like all these macros first of all, and then you chuck in potassium and sodium and you're like, fuck. So yeah, I was a bit stressed about that. But once I had Thursday, because we landed on Wednesday night, once Thursday's food went well and I looked good the next morning, I was like, I can just repeat Thursday. Like, I don't need to think about it any more than that. I'll just repeat that. So thankfully for me, because I was eating 700 grams of carbohydrates, 4,000 calories, I wasn't concerned about, I need to cook my oats for the food volume or have white potato to keep satiated. I could just eat like a couple of packets of instant oats that were raw with a shit ton of Rice Krispies and a whey protein shake. Like, I was like, happy days. This tastes good. It's good volume. Whereas someone like Jess was very certain she wanted to get a microwave. So Jess was with me, obviously. Hopefully the listeners know. And she had friends there who had a microwave. So she was able to do that with her oats and her potato. And thankfully...
That's a good thing about having friends, right, Steve? Something that we can't really say.
They are now, honestly, Christy and Matt are lifelong friends for me. They were fucking awesome people. Hope they listened to the podcast. Actually, Matt tagged us today.
Matt is crazy in how much he has listened to us over the past year. So thank you very much, Matt.
Yeah, they listened to the improvement season and like every episode, and just amazing people. So yeah, they were Jess's friends, and that was good because Jess managed to buy me some white potatoes, and I managed to like cook a bunch of white potatoes and have those available to get my potassium in a bit more normal range, which is good. But I didn't worry about like, I cooked some oatmeals there because it's just nicer and easier to digest cooked oats versus raw oats.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the main stresses ahead of time, was just making sure to get my food in a good place. But I also had a new low, I think the morning, like normally I have loads of edema on the flight. Also digestion can get thrown off when people fly quite often, but none of that happened to me. So I'm really glad I stuck to my guns in terms of eating the frozen potato and frozen egg whites. Because if I had eaten something different, maybe that could have thrown something off. I made sure to like keep fluids higher that day and also walk a bit on the flight, and I had compression socks on. So I basically woke up actually looking like I look at that look on the Thursday morning in Vegas. I'm like, well, that was a good look. But I woke up super light. That was my like lightest way of the entire prep, which I don't know. There's various things that could have contributed to that because I took my weighing scales with me just so I had that data point. So that's why we pushed up carbs to, I think, like 700. It may have even gone a little bit over for the next 2 days, just because I can just take a shitload of carbohydrates. It almost doesn't make sense. You think that's pushing me plenty into a surplus. You'd think I'd spill, but just I don't. So that was a very good lesson. I don't think I even spilled when we did the rapid backload of 700 in one day. Like it just maybe a little bit, but not much. So yeah, those were the first days. And then we had like the Friday was like athletes meeting, had my polygraph that morning. So actually the Thursday morning I had my polygraph. So I literally flew in, slept. The next morning at 8 a.m. I had my polygraph. So I was kind of glad to get it done and dusted out the way because that was obviously something I was stressing about. It just is an inherently stressful process.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture I put up with me like hooked up? Yeah. And I look like kind of, I don't know, because I'm so skinny and I was in all this clothing. It looked kind of
by the way, are they doing it at the WNBF Worlds both? So urine test and polygraph?
So they only urine test, I believe, the winners from categories.
Okay.
And they're very strict about it because when Dirk won the world title, he was like coming out and I was like going to pat him on the back and they're like, no, don't touch him. Like because you could somehow impact the sample or something. I don't know. They were just like, they're very rigid on that. So the testing was like good, but they polygraph everyone. As far as I know, they polygraph every single person, which is a shitload of people to get through because the polygraph itself it takes like a good half an hour. Like when they walk you through it and they do all the questions.
Do you think it's too expensive to have a urine sample of everyone?
Yeah, I don't know because it's much quicker. I think
not only that, and it's also much more accurate, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess it's the argument against the urine test would be it's easy to cheat in the short term. Like you can do something, I don't know, remove anabolic however many days before it, or weeks, and you can get rid of it. But
I just think that the polygraph, and this is something that we've already talked about, it has been proved. This isn't even feasible in court any longer because it's
that imprecise.
Yeah. It is kind of the, what's it called again? The natural, what's it called again in the medicine when it comes to herbs and all that kind of stuff?
Naturalistic,
homeopathic pendant to drug testing.
Yeah,
it's kind of We don't need to talk about that here this episode, but I don't really understand that at the Worlds they're then reverting back to a testing method like this as the main testing.
I imagine someone like Andrew Chappelle would be good to talk more about it because he's very honest about testing methods and what they're like, and I think he would say something along the lines of it's a deterrent more than anything. Like, it's just not comfortable. I can't imagine trying to get through a polygraph and actually be lying. Like, it would just feel super uncomfortable. I don't like lying at the best of times, let alone when an examiner's like sitting you through this test. So that was the second one I've done. I just don't, they're not enjoyable. I much prefer objective measures because then it takes out any variables that could potentially conflict it. So
once again, and then we can stop it here. I just think the most preferred and best method would be urine samples on show day, and then random testing throughout the year.
Yes, agreed.
Right, and then you don't need
testing.
And then you don't need a polygraph anymore, which is something once again which I am very skeptical of the use anyway. And why not then do something like this? You have the address, you have due to the membership and all that kind of stuff. Random testing. Show up there, or send them a letter. You need to actually provide a sample up to this point, signed by a doctor or something like this.
What I think would be awesome, I imagine it's the expense that stops that.
Yeah.
And then I know at the WNBF UK, CMP provided a lot of money towards testing. If WNBF could become big enough to get a sponsor from a supplement company and they could become affiliated together, which would be awesome because you imagine every WNBF competitor might then use this supplement company, and then they could provide money to help then off-season test. That would be a great relationship, I think. I'd love to see something like that. Because, what can you say? It's just the polygraph is not a great tool, and there could be people getting through who shouldn't be getting through, essentially, through that method. I guess you could say, they try and then get around that by testing the winners with the urine sample. But again, if you don't have off-season testing of that, then you don't know what they're doing, and they could be manipulating things. I just like to think people are honest, but it's natural bodybuilding, and like Andrew has said before, actually, what makes it natural is the testing. If you don't have good testing in place, it's no longer 100% natural.
That's true.
So no, I think that's very fair and valid point. Did the polygraph. Then we just had athlete meetings where we met up as a team. I know you kind of talked about how great it looked with the UK. We had one of the biggest teams there. I think it was us and Spain had the biggest teams. There was over 20 of us there, and it was just awesome, meeting friendly faces, and just, it was nice. It's quite different because you go to shows and normally these are the people you're competing against. Whereas here it was just everyone wanted everyone else to do really well. Even if they're in the same class, it was just we're the UK team. That's why I was so proud to represent the UK as well. It's this is a big deal. And Andrew and Steph are great at creating a community, well-spoken and just to the point.
I already told you that the next time when Steph and Andrew are coming on, I want you to actually say that just the way that I perceive things, they handled this year freaking fantastic. They did such a great service to the UK bodybuilding scene, in my opinion. And for me, from the outside, it really looked like a team that is then traveling to Vegas, and not just organization with random people coming together, but they really shared the journey. And I was even at times jealous that I couldn't be there. Like, honestly, because it looked so freaking fantastic, and you just wanted to be there, and that was the impression that they were able to send over via Instagram.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of the Revive Stronger member site. Inside you'll find a thriving forum, a growing exercise library, presentations, research reviews, and courses. If you want to get involved, sign up via the description.
Yeah, it was great. I'm also not, as people probably remember, I'm not the best flyer. I don't particularly enjoy it, but Andrew and Steph actually sat in front of me. So I talked to them quite a bit through the flight, and the rest of the team were on the same flight. So, or not all of them, but the majority of the team were on the same flight. And that's just nice, like going together, and that helped calm me down as well. Obviously, my best friend also came with me, and he actually really enjoyed his time. I was very worried that he wasn't going to enjoy it, because especially the first few days were incredibly bodybuilding focused. But he actually had a great time, and he really enjoyed seeing me in my element, which I really appreciate. Like the number of people that came up to me and were like, they listen, and you would have loved this because they would have come up to you the same way. It's just like, I listen to the podcast. I freaking love it. I love listening to you, your journey. I've taken so much away from it. It was such a humbling experience. Like, it was overwhelming, actually. I was so exhausted just from those interactions, because you know what I'm like. I'm an introverted person, but I'll talk to every single person as long as they want to talk to me for. So I was really happy to get lots of photos and meet loads of people who maybe you've seen online, you know their name, but you've never really interacted with. So there was like, I couldn't name every person. It was super great to have that experience. It felt like a little mini celebrity in some ways. Like I don't like to think of myself that way in the slightest, but that's what others were saying though. Like, you're like this natural bodybuilding celebrity. I was like, oh God, this is weird. So that was awesome. So then we had show day. So show day, they needed to be done because people who know WNBF Worlds, it quite often is a long day. Show days are very long anyway, but they started at 7 a.m. So the pros were on at 7 a.m. And it had to finish by like 6:30 because there was a magician on stage afterwards doing his show, because we were on his stage, and there was a live stream, so that was quite helpful. And the whole venue being in the casino was quite nice, because then you could have your room, and it was nice to go like back and forth to get food or like photos, and the tanning was all very close and well managed. So that was really good. And I wasn't on till, I can't remember what time I even went on. It was like 3 p.m. or something. So that was absolutely fine. And it's just like a normal show day, really. Apart from there was a lot of people I knew, and it was just a fun day to interact with them, kind of sit with the UK team in the crowd and cheer on the UK team. That was really cool. Bumped into Jared, actually. He came on show day for a little bit. I don't think he saw me on stage, but yeah, we had the show day. And yeah, I was in the middleweights. There was meant to be 5 in our class. When I saw there was only 5 of us, part of me was like, oh, that's cool, because I have more stage time and I'll get to do, actually, this is something that changed, was I had to choreograph that night a routine, because we didn't have 60 seconds, we had 30 seconds. I picked a song, but I didn't think I'd have to perform a routine. I was like, chances I get top 5, man, I'll just be happy if I land within the top half. But there was only 5 in the class, so that guaranteed I had to do it. So I was like practicing this routine that evening, which I think Cam really enjoyed watching me do that like for like an hour. But that all came together really well. And when I found out there was 5, yeah, part of me was like disappointed, because I was like, you always want more competitors. You want it to be a competitive show. But then part of me was like, I'm guaranteed a top 5. That's pretty cool. Like to be guaranteed a top 5 and get more stage time. So I did at that point, like I told you, I purchased the photos and media package, because I was like, there's going to be plenty. And I think you'd probably have agreed that it's a worthwhile investment when we didn't have Gordon there with us to be recording things and to just get that memory. Because who knows when, if Worlds will happen again, we'll have to see. So yeah, I was in the middleweights and I came second against 4 in the class. So one person dropped out. I can't actually recall who that is, but there was only 4 of us in the end. And
do you think drug testing?
Possibly. Yeah, it could have been. I actually didn't hear why this person wasn't there. But yeah, so we're the smallest amateur bodybuilding class. Not that any of the classes, actually, no, we weren't the smallest. The heavies only had 2. So we were the second smallest. And none of the classes actually were that big.
I wasn't aware of that. How does that make you feel overall? Like, does it...
Disappointed.
Yeah? Does it kind of more in the class. Impact your placing then?
100%. So this is something I really wanted to let the audience know. Yeah. Because a few people asked me, like, Steve, how can you come 4th at your qualifier, basically, for Worlds, and then at Worlds come 2nd? Did you improve that much? Did the judges change their opinion that much? No, guys. This is what bodybuilding is. It's who turns up on the day. Yeah. So I'll say, like, it's not a nice thing for me to say, and it isn't good for my ego to say this, but the competition at Worlds in my class, I can't talk about the other classes because I don't know them well enough, but in my specific class, the competition was a lower standard than at the qualifier. So WNBF UK, the guys that top placed there were better than the guys at Worlds. It's counter to what you'd expect, but that's just bodybuilding for you.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts in that regard. First and foremost, of course, it's expensive for the vast majority of people traveling there. I don't know, in regards to WNBF UK, did they cover the expenses when it comes to flight? No. See, I mean, it's not feasible for the vast majority of people and traveling all the way to Las Vegas. So it's not
thousands.
Yeah, exactly. It's not surprising then, especially on such a short notice as well. People need to work. They can't just like take holiday and then spend a lot of money on that just spontaneously. So it's not really surprising.
Family.
Exactly.
That, yeah, to be double vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That then so, in quotation marks, few people showed up. And also secondarily, I think that Germany and the UK, they are beasts when it comes to the competitiveness and just like the standard nowadays. And this is something, funny enough, Brad and you even talked about when Brad just was on the podcast as well. And that is no discredit to like bodybuilders in the US, because I know that there are incredible bodybuilders there.
I'm just talking facts on the day.
Yeah. But the level, the sheer magnitude of very good competitors, UK and Germany trumps currently, at least, the US by a long shot. And this is something that you can also see how easily pro cards are being handed out at the moment in the US. Many shows where people are getting pro cards who would not even place in UK and German shows.
When you consider, I came 4th at the qualifier in the UK. Even if I improved and came 3rd, the guys that came 3rd and 4th in my class, therefore, would have at best come 4th and 5th at mine. So it's kind of like that. And then the guy that won my class, Nathaniel, really nice guy. He listens to the podcast. Don't know if he'll listen to this. He probably will. Great bodybuilder. And I don't know where he would have placed at ours. I think he may have very well he would have made top 3, no doubt, obviously, because I came 4th. He may have well come 2nd to Leon, who got his pro card and everything. So he was competing in the pro class at Worlds. I think he may have come 2nd, maybe 3rd. I'm not sure. It depends. They're actually quite a similar physique to the guy that came 2nd. But yeah, I mean, Nathaniel's still a very good winner. And he could go on to the overalls, and then the top 3 at the overalls got a pro card. So he didn't come in the top 3. So he didn't get a pro card. The light heavy, the heavyweight, and the bantam, Dirk, who came first, those 3 got their pro cards. Something else to reflect upon is my confidence was growing. After getting off stage, a few people came up to me and was like, you're in the running for first in this lineup. After having seen the class, I knew it was between me and Nathaniel. And it was a case of, I was more conditioned than Nathaniel, but he had, you'll see if you haven't
more
seen
symmetry.
Him, but probably such broad shoulders, like big chest, big bulky shoulders, nice sweeping quads, tiny waist, smallest waist you ever see. So yeah, symmetry, all the things I don't have. And so, yeah, it was a case of, do they want that or do they want this? And I think we've seen this season judging is going more towards actually symmetry. In some years they may have gone condition, but this year has definitely been, for me at least, whenever I get feedback, is a case of like, you're very good here, and maybe even better than this person, but they just have such great symmetry. Yeah. You have no, like, I don't have a chance against them. If they come into us, as long as they're at a certain level of condition, which Nathaniel he was conditioned, but he had more to give. He definitely had more to give, which is exciting for him, because he would be, if he maybe had 5 pounds of fat off his frame and maintain that muscle and that size, I think he'd be in the running for a pro card and a top 3 overall for sure. So yeah, it was a bit gutting. So when people are asking me, and like people are really like, oh, that's awesome, it's a great finish to your season, 2nd in the world, I'm always like, yeah, but you don't know the context behind that, because it looks great on paper, but in practice, the 4th was almost like just as good. Although the physique at Worlds, I think, was better, and I think that will be shown in photos. Chris Barakat kind of was there on the day, and I was doing some backstage photos, and he was like, Steve, you are peaked. He was like, whatever you did this peak week, you fucking nailed it, because you look incredible. And that was really I mean, people are probably just being nice, but everyone who saw me backstage and saw me posing and everything, they're really like, fuck, like, your condition, your size, like, you look fucking awesome. So that was very encouraging. But yeah, it's a tough one. I really want, the way I've taken it, because it's very easy to become discouraged when you're losing due to something that's kind of not under your control, which is like, one of the judges' feedback to me was, can you make your waist smaller? Like, that's legitimately what one of them said.
All right.
And it's kind of like, fuck, no, I can't make it smaller. The only thing I can do is make all this bigger. Yeah. So it's driven me to just be like, right, I'm going to fucking pack on size on these areas that are going to make me look more symmetrical. And then I want my pro card. That's what I want. Yeah. So it has driven me that way, because I think it could easily drive you if you like, man, I just don't. And I remember my mum saying this when I first competed. She was like, you just don't look like a bodybuilder. Like, you don't look like the other guys. Like, you just don't have the shape for it. But as I've competed year after year after year and done this, it's slowly coming. Yeah. And the posing tweaks are helping. So yeah, it's incentivized me in a big way, and it's lit a fire up my ass, just like you. Like you said, you tasted blood and now you want more. I'm exactly the same way. And I'm in this exactly with you and everyone else who's like in love. I thought I was in love with bodybuilding before, like big time, and it was a big part of me. It's never been as big a part of me right now. And maybe it will dwindle a little bit. I'll become a bit more balanced. But right now, I fucking love it so
Sounds
much.
Like we have gone through the same experience, just to a different extent here this season.
Yeah. That's what you hope for a competitor, because some people are like, oh, I'm surprised you're so motivated. Like, normally after shows, like, there's a bit of post-show blues, and people kind of, I don't know, they lose the drive, and I'm like, I've never been more motivated than ever.
Yeah, maybe it's also due to having the wrong approach in transitioning into the off-season, that many people are just like, maybe gaining or regaining way too fast, because they heard that this is what they have to do. I just know that we had Jeff Alberts on, and the episode has come out just like here on Saturday, but we are pre-recording this episode, of course, so it has not really come out yet. But there we are talking, or you guys are talking about the reverse diet. And when it comes to something like this, I think that many people have a misconception of what recovery diet, sorry for that, did the same as
I did it so many times. More carbs.
Yeah, exactly. I have a wrong idea of what the recovery diet or something like reverse diet actually is. They just have a black and white mentality of like, it's this and nothing else. It's the same when it comes to, for years there was a misconception about the MEV or MRV concept, that people just like took it for as hard numbers or something like intermittent fasting, butchered that, didn't misinterpret the meaning behind it. And I think that when it comes to the recovery diet as well, people are just like, yeah, I need to now regain all of the weight, right, in a very short period of time. And sometimes that, combined with not really having a strategy and how to go about transitioning out of it, is then putting them automatically and unfortunately in that post-show blues period, even though that they never really wanted to be there. Because I don't think that anyone enjoys the time afterwards where it's like when they are feeling that way. I think many people are motivated, but because of their actions, they are actually then falling into that hole.
Yeah, I think it's very easy. It's like Jeff was saying, same with training, where people just kind of go wild. It's very easy. It's like when you come out of a deload, but on a larger scale, where you're like feeling fresh and ready to go. You come out, maybe it was a deload diet break after the diet and you're coming into massing. It's like all the food, all the training, let's fucking go. And you don't give yourself a runway or like a chance. Your body's just like, fuck, I was stressed already and now you've just smashed a load of more stress in my face. And then you just, like, you have nothing to do apart from feel bad and have to recover again. So I guess that leads into actually after the show. So that evening, I felt a bit lost actually with my nutrition after the show because I've been so structured and like down to like fluid, electrolyte balance, everything. So after the show, I was just kind of like, I don't know, there was people just going down, and because in the casino, there was 2 Dunkin' Donuts, there was like Guy Fieri's restaurant, which is, 2 of them. There was like, I don't know, all the fast food places nearby. So people were like, I don't know, I was hearing people being like, I've already eaten 2 burgers and a slice of pizza and all of this. And I just was like, right, Steve, go back to your hotel room. And I just think I ate like 2 bananas, a bagel, a protein bar, and like had a glass of milk or something. I just need to have something a bit normal, but a decent feed at least. So I just went back and did that. And I was kind of like waiting to hear what plans were for the evening. And then a woman came round and she was giving out like baggies of homemade brownie. So I took one of those. I was like, what? I have no need to not take this. But it was so, normally my immediate response was like, no, thank you. Because that's what I always do. And I was like, no, I don't need to do that. And it was quite nice actually just to take it off her and be like, yeah, actually, I can eat that because I don't need this anymore.
I just imagine you being like an alien coming to some kind of different planet or so, and someone is giving some kind of device into your hand and you have no idea what it is and what to do with this. And that's the way that you looked at the brownie as well. Like,
it was a bit like that.
And what am I supposed to be doing with this?
It was fucking great. I actually gave half to Cameron because I was still in that kind of, I don't know if I should even be doing this mindset. But then in the evening after Jess, she came top 3. I actually had her second. I want to see more footage and like photos, but having watched the live feed replayed, like I feel like she still could have had second there, but top 3 is amazing for her. Her second season, she's had an incredible season as well. And she had a lot in her class. There was more like 9 or something in her class. So decent numbers for her to be that competitive against. So then we were going out for dinner that evening. And this is where I was just like, I didn't track like it was like, there's no point me tracking this. Like I vaguely know there's going to be thousands of calories in this meal. So we just ended up getting pizza, and then I already had a craving for like a milkshake for some reason. So I got like an ice cream shake, and I was just like, man, it's really weird eating this because you go from one extreme to like another extreme where you're all on and restrictive, and then you're suddenly, it doesn't matter. Like I need to overeat at this period of time. So I've always struggled post show, as you know, Pascal, to like let the reins go. But I was also aware of letting them go too much because you saw some of the food that we're eating out there. If I was eating like these chicken waffles, not a burger with a sausage stuck in it, chicken waffles. So there's like fried chicken with like bacon inside waffles, maple syrup over the top. Like I could eat that all to myself, but it would have been like 2,000 plus calories probably, easily. And if I did that multiple times a day, which I had the appetite to, and the food was there, I could easily see how I could eat 10,000 calories, and I can easily see how people rebound. But the thing I'm happy about is I did find a bit of a middle ground. So I'd be sharing meals like this. We'd only maybe do it twice a day, and then I'd just have like some fruit and protein shake in the middle of the day. I was still aware of protein. I was still aware of getting in some micronutrients, and I was aware that I was overdoing it. But for 2 to 3 days, I might have logged into MyFitnessPal, like logged one thing and then been like, what am I doing? I don't need to do this. So it was about 3 days. I kind of took off from all of that. I was mentally like, I can't switch off. And then I slowly started being like, okay, I'm going to try and track a little bit of what I'm eating here. But when you're in Vegas, like it was just like you said, I was like an alien. Like, I don't know what the fuck, I never eat shit like this.
Yeah. It's not only it was very hard. Because you're switching from one extreme to the other, but also you are in a different environment where you're not used to eating the, I don't know, typical things. I think that at home, probably things would have looked quite different.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Yeah. I actually think it's good that I was in that. For me, because of my usual response post-show, I think it's good I was in a different environment, because I think if I was here, I would have just followed my usual habits. I probably would have been at this point here, maybe like 5 pounds light. Like, actually, I'm only about 5 pounds up. I imagine I wouldn't have been much heavier than like stage weight. And it's just needless. Like, I would have kept myself in a needlessly lean state, not recovered. Whereas for other people, I think they need that. It's like, I know Cliff will say like, don't go on holiday post-show because most people will rebound. But for me, I kind of needed that to remove myself from the restraints, because I inevitably always keep myself a little bit restrained. So that was really actually enjoyable. And this is where we went on a road trip to the Grand Canyon. But I was basically also in this period of time running on such little sleep. Like, there was one night we got 4 hours, maybe I'd get 5 hours here or there. I was having like Monsters and like rain drinks because there was all these different ones, and I was just like, I'm fucking tired, I'm just going to drink this thing, because I just didn't care about sleep at this point. So it was like a perfect mix for fuckery, but I still had really cool sessions. So we went to Powerhouse in Vegas, which was, I thought, the best gym I'd ever been to. Until then I went to Dragon's Lair, which trumped it, because it just, the atmosphere was awesome. And I just crushed myself with like 1 or 2 sets on legs mostly, because I just wanted to destroy them, because I don't know, I mean, I was in that mindset, and it's fun to just do like a couple of sets to all out. And I trained with Raul, who's an old client of mine, and that was really fun meeting with him, and just tried some different foods that I'd never had before, switched off, really relaxed. And like I said to you, it was I think it probably was the best time of my life. I imagine I'll have better times coming forward. I hope I do, but I couldn't have wished for anything different, to be honest. It was all amazing. I mean, maybe the frozen egg whites, that would have I wished for different, and maybe having a microwave in the hotel would have been good. But apart from that, like, it was just such a cool experience. And yeah, saw Hoover Dam, like did Route 66, ticked off all that. Didn't do strippers, didn't do the casino. I think I placed one bet on a slot machine just to say I'd done it. But yeah, I didn't do any like blackjack or anything like that. Vegas was a bit lost on me, to be honest.
But it sounds very amazing, like the entire journey, the entire trip. It's kind of all led to Vegas for you this time around. And then Vegas was kind of the cherry on top of the pie, which was not a disappointment. It was not a rotten cherry on top of the pie. It was actually quite delicious. And now you were flying back home again, and you are fresh and kind of recovered in that kind of sense to now move forward again. And it's like you said, no post-show blues. It's more like highly motivated to get into the next gear and work on yourself and improve on those areas that you want to improve. And it's like, when I was talking to Bird, so Alberto Nunez, this is where you are then figuring out whether bodybuilding is for you or not. And it gives you that response. And even though that the diet, of course, comes with discomfort, because I don't think that it's suffering. So it comes with discomfort, and of course also prioritizing certain things in life over others. It's never really a sacrifice. And it just makes you appreciate other times and the time that you can spend with other ones even more so. And it should give you that drive. And if it doesn't, then I would even go as far in saying like maybe then you should reconsider of whether the putting you through something like a contest prep is worth it for you. Because if you feel that it's suffering, if you feel totally drained and exhausted by the end of it, and you can't, the best thing for you is that it's now over. Right? I don't know if it's really then the right sport for you. Just my 2 cents. It could be that you just had the wrong approach when it comes to prepping or so, and it was just like super hard because external things happened, but you still made it. But generally speaking, if someone had kind of a smooth ride when it comes to the contest prep, smooth in relative terms, and still feel exhausted and just totally drained by the end of it, is it really worth it to go through it another time or maybe 3 times? And for what reason? For external validation, or why are you doing it? Because it should really feel and come from the inside. And I know how cheesy that sounds, but it should feel like, shit, this was amazing. And if you ask, or you're being asked, why did it feel amazing? The only answer is like, I don't really know. It's just something that I enjoy doing. And you can't really pinpoint it to like winning or something like that. It was just something that you enjoyed.
It's funny because I've mentioned that I want to go pro next time that I compete. But I can say right here, if you were to tell me I'm never going to go pro, would I still compete? I think so. Like this season, like I won shows, I placed at shows, I didn't place at shows. It's been a mixed bag. As long as I can be in the mix and be competitive, which I think almost everyone can be if they really give it their all. And especially if they do like a bunch of different shows, because like we've said, like some people turn up, some people don't turn up. If you enjoy the process, like that's enough for me to just be in the mix, just to be part of the community. I love that. I don't feel like I have to go pro. I don't feel like I have to win for it to be something that I should do and commit time to. I'm happy enough just doing the process, learning from that, taking lessons, because I've got lessons from this prep for sure. Even from just this post-show period, I'm like, like trying out the different gyms and the different equipment. I'm like, I need to do that more. Like I think my previous off season, it's just been so like, Steve has like little range. He doesn't try different foods. He doesn't try different gyms. He just follows this routine, do. And that's all I did. Whereas now this post-show period, when I tried different foods and I was like, you know what, I can incorporate more potentially meals out or try different things in my off season. And it's probably going to help my appetite as well, because I know that always dwindles. And then the same with like trying out different gyms. This is why I said to you, like, why haven't I already done this? Yorkie's gym is like not that far away. I should at least make a trip once a week on a Saturday. I've no reason not to go train there, because I enjoyed being in a different gym environment with different gym equipment that much. That it's just worth it. And I think it just keeps me kind of driven towards it. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm definitely going to take into my off season, is just having a little bit more flexibility within the reins of like, this is helping drive bodybuilding, of course.
And this is also where I'm always coming from when I say we are such a small niche and also minority. And we are all loving the sport of bodybuilding, at least the ones who really do love it, right? And why are we fighting each other? I still don't get it, right? Because we are just like a handful of people, so to speak. And we should actually enjoy the time together, because it is temporary. We won't be doing this for like, I don't think that I will be stepping on stage at the age of 70. I know that there are people doing that, but I can't see myself doing that at that point in time. I think that by that time, I want to enjoy other aspects of life. Golf, for example. Yes. But yeah, one more thing that I want to touch on, Steve, is to revert back to the Instagram posts and stuff. So I perceive things, of course, in a certain way. And I think that this once again demonstrated that Instagram only shows you one side of the medal. It didn't really I didn't really perceive anything about the jacklegs, the eggs, for example, the struggles that you've experienced, the lack of sleep, and also then when it comes to the food that you still, I knew that you are still in control. I knew that. And thing is, for someone like you, you're still consuming somewhere around 3,000 calories and you are maintaining. So damage is very, very low. But of course, it could easily be perceived as such for someone else, that you're just like having the greatest time of your life, which, by the way, you had a great time. But also at the same time, you're just like overindulging on food. You're eating the entire time. Things as we've seen over on Instagram, when this is just like a very, very small portion of what has been going on, right?
Yeah, it's just a great reminder of how much Instagram's the highlight reel, and most people will share mostly the highs versus the lows. So yeah, it's like with in hindsight, like the sleep and everything, it was worth the cost of like having shitty sleep, over caffeinating, all those things were just worth it to me. And then sharing some of my thoughts behind like nutrition and everything. It's just, it's a hard platform to try and share like a nugget, like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I don't know. It's just a tricky one. And this is why I love the chats we have here, because you really get to delve into what's truly going on behind the scenes and what's happening there. Just like with the placing, like I came second in the world, and I think most people just see that and they're like, amazing. And then when they talk to me, they're probably underwhelmed with my because I'm not like, it's amazing I was second in the world, because I'm like, but I understand the context behind what that means. And whilst I'm very proud of that result, and if you told me a week before that I'd be second in the world, I'd be like, no fucking way. But when I think through it, I'm like, oh, I could theorize a way that could happen. Not that it's bad. Like, it's still an amazing achievement for me to have done that. But it's just the reality of bodybuilding. Yeah. Like some people you imagine if all the best bodybuilders turned up to every show, there'd only be like the top 3 would be the same every single time. And this is why you do multiple seasons and you look to improve and all of that. So yeah, it's social media being the highlight reel. I try and share as much as possible and try and be honest, but I also tend to have I try to have a positive outlook generally. I want people to check out my Instagram and feel happy almost afterwards versus
this is also not where I was coming from with this. It's more like other competitors maybe looking at your Instagram profile and being like, they are in that post-show blues period. They don't feel as motivated. Also, they are struggling then with hunger maybe. And they may not be allowed to eat the things that you are eating at the moment. And then they are starting to question maybe the coach and maybe the approach that they are currently on without having the full picture in front of them. Once again, they're only seeing the highlight reel. And I think it's very important to talk about it so that people know, all right, what I'm seeing right now is just a short image of what is going on. It's like a couple of minutes out of the entire day, right? And I think it's super important to then keep it in context for then other people as well who are looking at that, who may go through a harder time at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's something Jeff did a really good job of, is taking the individual into consideration in each of these phases. Just like I said, for me, being on holiday post-show was almost like a blessing. Yeah. For a lot of people, probably the majority of people, it'll be completely the wrong thing for them, because they'll end up way overeating. Like I said, you could quite comfortably go 10,000 calories a day, and I can see how people rebound. Like, I never understood it until I was in the position where I could have done something similar. But I have quite a high maintenance. I have like the reverse in terms of I'm very restrictive, and I've been practicing this for years. And yeah, when I come back here, my intake's high because, like I told you, it's struggling to keep my steps down below like 18,000 just to lifestyle and walking the dog and having to walk up 9 flights of stairs at the moment, which is a nightmare in its own right. But there might be other people who are like, they're sedentary, 5K steps like in their off season, and they might have a not adaptive metabolism, and so their food's looking half. It might look like my diet food. You have to take yourself into consideration. And that's what coaching is as well. Your coach should be doing that.
No, absolutely. And once again, I think it's important to talk about these things because it can be discouraging otherwise for some, or they get the wrong idea of what it is that they should be doing optimally in their own circumstance, and especially the time after prep. If you don't have a solid approach, solid plan that you're sticking with, you can actually get kind of confused. You're always then jumping around looking for something to not only confirm your biases and justify certain behavior, but also at the same time you're looking for something to hold on to, right? And if you're then seeing something like this and you're not rational in a situation like this, then it could easily end up with you overindulging and ending up in a much, much worse place.
I can give you an example for me specifically. I just saw Dirk today posted up. He's 12 pounds above stage weight. And I was like thinking to myself, man, I'm like 5, if that. He might think, he's like, I'm 12 up, Steve's 5 up. Maybe I'm going too fast. And similarly, my mind was like, Dirk's 12 up. I was not too far off his level of condition. Maybe I should be 12 up. Maybe I should start pounding the food. And I'm like, no, draw yourself back to what you're trying to achieve in this phase. It's like comparing someone's training or deloading or whatever. Like the goal of this phase is to recover. Are these things improving? If they're not improving and your rate of gain is a bit slow, push it up a little bit. Or if they are all improving, then stay the course. So yeah, that's you have to individualize for every person.
Always keep in mind it's kind of survivorship bias, what it is that you're seeing over on Instagram. The ones who are ending up binging and regaining a lot of weight, they are most of the time not the ones openly talking about it because they feel ashamed. They know like, oh shit, I messed up here just a little bit, up 25 pounds already in just like 2 weeks. Not the greatest thing. I don't feel confident in my skin any longer. Just 2 weeks ago, I was shredded and now a little bit of cushion here and there already. And these are the ones who, of course, don't post about it, right? Because they would they fear that people are then talking, saying some mean things, which most of the time people don't really think about it anyway. Even if people post or give you a hard time, they are just mean in the moment. And then 1 minute later, they don't even think about it anymore. And you are the one left with all of the thoughts and stuff like that. Right? So typical thing of survivorship bias, you only see the ones who made it and make it and who are successful in their endeavors. And this could then end up with you feeling even worse in your situation, and then it ends up in a downward spiral. So, of course, I didn't want to take it into more of a negative sentiments towards the end of a show. And I think that we have much, much more to discuss moving forward. Next time, we can then talk about you transitioning into the off season, what this looks like, what it is that you're then doing, and the plan is, etc., etc. I think for now, because we're coming up on time, I think it was great hearing what about your experience in Las Vegas. Also, your honesty about your thoughts, the reflections upon the placing, and all that kind of stuff. It's just incredible to hear what you went through there, and it's always amazing to see. I mean, it's something that I said already a couple of times. We've been doing the Improvement Season podcast. Now, when we are approaching January time, it's then coming up to it's 4 full years and coming up to the 5th year now, and seeing then the entire journey. I mean, everyone can look back, listen to the first episodes, seeing you now here, making it to a world and improving on a continuous basis is massively inspiring. And I think that I'm talking for our audience when I'm saying something like this.
Well, I highly appreciate, I would say the same sentiment to you. Our journeys have looked very different, but we've actually just recently come to a bit of a crossroads where we're slowly looking a bit more similar.
Yeah, that's true.
In many ways. We're in our improvement seasons now, and we're probably going to step on stage. I'm saying I reckon it's going to be 24, but maybe it'll be sooner than that. Maybe 23. Who knows? Depends how much improvement we make. So I appreciate that a lot, Pascal. And massive appreciation to the entire audience for following along this journey with me and with Pascal. And if people have got value from it, then that's amazing. And I want to say a special thank you again to the WNBF UK for allowing me to come, because it has been the best time of my life and I wouldn't have been there without them. Kind of giving me that opportunity, and I'm glad that I could take second spot, because the whole UK team did freaking amazing. By the way, I know you said that. That just shows how competitive.
It was very
UK
impressive to see that they are just like taking one win after the other, one pro card after the other. Very impressive.
Yes, very cool to see that, and yeah, hopefully more of that in future, and yeah, more of us being in our improvement season. And like I said on my story, I want people to be as excited for our improvement season now as they were for my prep, because this is where the real gains are made. Like, look how much improvement I made from 2017 and how much improvement Pascal's made over the years. That's due to our due diligence in our improvement season. That's why this is named the improvement season, because that's where the most is made.
Absolutely. Then thank you very much, guys, for listening, tuning in. As always, leave a comment in the comment section below. Leave a like, leave a subscribe if you haven't done so already. I mean, why are you then even listening here and making it to the end of the episode? So thank you very much, Steve, and I guess I'll speak to you guys next week. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.